Well, okay. So, I mean, that was a great take on like, how you got to where you're at, both in your life and musically.
Hmm.
So now one of the reasons we thought you would be a great guest on here is because whenever we have our consultation calls, like for those who don't know, like when we work with clients, we want to have a hands as much of a hands-on like approach as we can. So we want to have that consultation call with our clients to like actually one go over the results and the
Yeah.
data and make sure everyone's speaking the same language. But um, two, the fun for us is setting up the plan and like figuring out, okay, you want to do this. The
Right.
results are saying that. How do we put these two together to like become the most effective that we think we can? And when we do those calls, you always have great questions. So now I'm hoping that you came prepared with a couple of questions that we can kind of dive right into.
I did. I did.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'm curious. So COVID happens, right? COVID happens, and the music industry and really everything kind of just it's at a standstill. It's like, okay, now what, right? So I know like live shows are a large part of the musician, right? And streaming is what it is. You can make a career out of it if you're really big or if you're really good at it. I know it's not like something a lot of independent artists kind of at least at the start make a career from. They can get there. So a lot of merch, a lot of shows, these kinds of things. I'm so curious on your takes in terms of, okay, once kind of this pandemic comes at a standstill, once everyone gets their vaccines, once things start to kind of reopen, how do you see the landscape of live shows changing, especially like within Twitch, within, IG Live, I guess other mediums of kind of performing live? Do you see that a lot of these, like, I mean, I think a concert's a concert and live is live, but I'm curious, like, how the live show will kind of change and how the like digital era will kind of couple with the live shows and what kind of experience can be created after kind of COVID. Yeah, so that's kind of my question. I would love to hear your thoughts.
I think at first, what we're going to see happen is there's going to be more competition for touring than ever before because
Mm,
everyone's going to try to make up all the time they've lost.
mm,
If you think about it, we probably got 2 years worth of touring that people are all going to want to tour because that's a bunch of money that leaving on the table. And then in addition to that, we're now in a spot where people have formed audiences that they didn't have before, like you were saying through Twitch or YouTube and stuff like that. So that's even
mm,
more people who now are able to tour. Because of this, my guess is what I'll call it will be at the beginning are these tours are going to be almost mega tours. It's not going to be an opener and a main act. It's going to be four openers and two major acts who are all signed on the same label because the label can just pump money into it, get it all done, and get it taken care of. And when those people who are those major ones are touring, what's going to happen is we're going to see a lot more vlogs of the touring. We're going to see someone will be probably on the stage live streaming it online where you can pay. If you couldn't go to the concert, here you go. You got it here now. Because not everyone's going to have the vaccine. And there's also going to be people who are immune compromised and stuff like that who just can't get the vaccine or they can't go until they are 100% confident everyone else there has it. So we've got, it's going to be a combination, I think, of a lot of things. But I think the biggest moneymaker for these labels is going to be, okay, let's partner up Jack Harlow with Lil Wayne and Drake, and let's get them out there and give me four people who are up and coming now, who now have audiences that didn't have audiences before the pandemic, who are now big on Twitch and YouTube or wherever they're at. Because if, or maybe someone became big just on streaming. If you can add those four as openers, now instead of charging $150 a ticket, you can charge $400, $500, maybe $600 for just a ticket because you've got so much more to offer. It will also speed up the labels getting the artist to perform, and it gets the artist in a tough spot. Artists need to put out music to fulfill their contracts. And if they haven't toured with their old music, they're trying to get that done as fast as possible so they can put out new music. And if they don't get it out within the contract year, usually you're giving them an album every 6 to 8 months.
mm.
If you're not performing each one, all you're doing is pushing back your contract. So the artists are also going to be going, get us out there. We want more money. We can get more money if you release new music, but you're not going to release new music until I tour and perform this old music. So it's not just going to be the labels who are motivated. The artists are going to be motivated to get this done. It's going to be on the labels to find out creative ways to include it. That's why I'm thinking like they'll have someone with the camera live streaming it online. They'll find different ways to kind of get you interacting with it. I wouldn't be surprised if someone does a tour and there's a live vote or a poll someplace that they pick the next song. And then that way they feel like they're included and they can watch it online, and they can do ad spaces and stuff like that behind the stage now, because you've got digital media. You're pretty much going to turn into a sporting event, but for music. And it hasn't been done yet.
Well, I think, yeah, there's that angle. But let's not forget about the consumers. That's all assuming that everyone is amped up, ready to go to an arena with 60,000 people, right? I do not think that that's going to be the case. I think at first you're going to see a bunch of big shows, but I mean, look at this rollout. We have half of the country, if not more, concerned about the vaccine, period. So this is kind of getting away from music, but on a macro level, like, I think there's going to be a lot of people itching to get back to these things. But then you think of the logistics of it. Okay, how are we going to make sure all of these people have their vaccines? How are we going to figure that out? Right? There's that. And like, so what, are we going to just have a big ass festival with 100,000 people there for 4 days? Like, maybe, but I don't know how quickly those tickets will sell out. I think at first you think, no, people are itching. Like, yes, sure. But then like, there's also a lot of people who are not eager to go hang out with a bunch of people. Maybe their mom is sick, maybe whatever. Maybe they're just scared. They don't want to get COVID. They don't want to risk it. There's a lot of people who are unsure. There's that side of things. So then let's say, okay, hypothetically, everybody or enough people get their vaccine. Like, that's going to take a long time. Like, let's look at what's happening right now. I have a really close friend in a big agency in New York City, and they do big tours. You know, Kevin Hart is one of their clients, you know, big bands, John Legend. And she was telling me that all of those companies or agencies, they've already pushed the concerts. They're not planning tours this year. It's all 2022. So I think, because think of the logistics of moving 5 big acts, all their equipment, everything, even to go. So we're going to do Boston to New York City to DC, and that's it. Think of all the work that goes into that, though. If one of those dates gets postponed, because who knows what's going to happen, poof, money gone. So there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. And I think when it actually does get to the point where, okay, 2022, everyone's vaccinated, everyone feels good about, and everyone's excited to get back into touring, then it's going to be, there are only so many venues and there are only so many things. So the top dogs are going to eat first. So those people in the middle, like the up and coming artists, might actually even have an easier job than, say, people who are close to being really big, because they're fine playing a bar or a club with 150 people because they're just pumped to have any sort of gig. But the people who are aiming for those big venues are going to be taken by the top dogs who haven't toured in 2 years. So it's going to be this weird survival of the fittest, I think, in terms of like, well, which big artist is willing to take the least, or who knows? But I think it's going to be very interesting, because as much as we can't lose sight of the general people who will be paying for this stuff and how they're feeling about it. And I don't think anybody knows when it's going to be fully back to normal. Yeah. Especially you start thinking about like an arena show, you know, like it's not an open air festival. There's just so many questions, man. And so actually the same person I know who was telling me, she was like, so right now, if you're a medium level comedian, you can still do a special, right? You only need 25 people in a room, get some people laughing. You can kind of make a successful show because it's mostly for the camera anyway. You know, how many musicians are going to be pumped to go play a show for 37 people and to stream it? Music is a little bit different. People will stream it, sure, but I'm not going to pay a concert price to stream a show. Maybe I'll pay $5 once or twice to support my favorite artists, but I'm not going to do it 27 times this summer.
No.
You know, maybe if Eminem did it, I'd be like, sweet, I'll watch that. But kind of anybody other than my absolute favorite artists, I'm not going to go to Twitch. What is Twitch? I mean, you know what I'm saying? I know what it is, but like I don't use that. Like it's for streaming video games and like performances and shit, right? But like I don't use it. So like the thing is like all of this adjustment, everyone is going to be going through it at once, and eventually it's going to come down to kind of like any other form of advertising. You know, there's limited space, there's limited attention, so who can pay the most to get it? And the people, you know, Drake, Justin Timberlake, Ed Sheeran, they're going to be touring. Justin Bieber, Beyonce, Katy Perry, like, and kind of anybody outside of that level one, it's going to be tough for them to get big shows, or maybe they can do a show here and there, but a tour of, hey, I'm putting together 42 shows. That's going to be tough to do because there's only so many places worth booking for those people. And they're going to be very, very competitive. There are only so many weekends at a venue every year, you know, you gotta, especially the big arenas, you got to plan around basketball, hockey, all this other shit. So it's going to be really tough to get back to totally normal. I don't think it's going to get back to totally normal until like the year after tours, 2022. If those are the first big tours, there are going to be a lot of people who say, I'm going to wait and see how this goes before I spend my $600 on the big tour or the big show that James is talking about. Even if I'm pumped about it, those are awesome artists. Before I shell out $600 and another $200 for the hotel and $150 for the flight to get there or whatever, I'm going to see that they know what they're doing and that everyone's money doesn't disappear. So I think there's going to be a little while before it's like back to consistent system of, okay, cool, no worries about it. I'll book that show for September. It's January now, but okay, my favorite artist is coming to my city in September. I'll book it now because I'm not uncertain that it will actually happen.
Here's my gentle reminder. Florida never shut down.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Florida has concerts in Miami still every weekend. So, yeah, you can tell it's also, I mean, that's going to be part of it too, is who are the people, where are they from, where are they used to? If Daddy Yankee wants to do a show in Miami, he's probably just going to do a show this weekend because COVID's not a thing down there.
Daddy Yankee. Rumpe. But so, Anish, that was a really long answer, but I mean, that's what this show is for. I think did that answer your question?
Yeah. You know, in fact, I'm going to listen to this again when this comes out. I think that was such a good answer. There was so many really big nuggets in there. So I definitely appreciate it.